Hey folks, Joe here from JCS-Charting. It's Sunday the 20th of October. We have a quick look at the DAX. This is my Discord group here. You can book that on jcs-charting.com and book one out of two packages. This is also part of the basic here. You see all these different channels here at the DAX. I opened threads, so everything is nicely in order with the time frame. This is a H4 thread. And we have a Cetera chart right here, and this is my outlook from last Sunday. I said we most likely rally into that red resistance zone before we reverse into that next subcycle low, which was due by Tuesday. And this was Monday after closure. We closed right at that resistance zone. And on Tuesday, we overshot that by a few points, and then we reversed into Wednesday to set that subcycle low. That was predicted by last weekend, and that was already Thursday. We were setting that low with a gap down and started rallying on Wednesday, and then on Thursday we started to gap up, and we're going to have a look at the live chart. Same chart, Cetera H4. This is now the latest indication we had on Friday. 19,657 was the close. We triggered that green sequence. In the other chart it was yellow. I just switched colors. The first min target at 19,680 just got missed out by a little bit. This is a min target zone for the beginning of next week. There could be a large ripper all the way up to 19,900 to also hit that target line, which got hit on the course index already. Note that there's a bigger sequence here, 19,561 on the Cetera, which is triggered. That means there are much higher targets open to the upside. One thing I usually just give members that information that we should have, or we have another cycle low by the middle into the end of next week. This is a daily Cetera chart. I've shown that many times before. In blue here, that descending broadening wedge, and I haven't changed these projections at all. This one here worked in timing and price almost perfectly. This one was a little off, but the course index projection actually was suggesting that low here on the 8th, actually on that date exactly. And I mentioned my magic number at 19,561 also many times. And this number now triggered for higher levels. So on the little longer perspective, we should assume higher levels at DAX as well. Okay, now the question is about timing. When do we top out and when do we look for a bottom? A few weeks back, I suggested that a bottom is due by the end of October. That's what the major cycles suggested, but time looks like it's expanding. Also, seasonality patterns said there should be a dip before the US election, but also that might be wrong because all these seasonality patterns, they are out of sync. So I assume that this timing pattern of that primary cycle will expand into the end of November. I recommend you to watch the video on crypto, on Bitcoin and Ethereum on that, because I also cover the cycle topics, which could all run in sync with the indexes. The same, by the way, for the US markets. Now we look at the DAX daily chart again. Usually DAX runs in a topping pattern or a topping cycle pattern of 95 to 105 days. This top here was after 97 days, but that little tiny decline lasted only 7 days. There is now that possibility, and I assume this is the most likely scenario, that we expand into 120 days, which would be around at the end of October now, which would be middle and end of next week, before we see a sharp and quick decline into the middle or end of November. This one here suggests that we top out by the 24th all the way up to the 29th, which is the end of next week. And then we decline, and we're gonna look at this primary cycle here. This one suggests that 19th of November if that primary cycle keeps running in the same pattern. This primary cycle is already in a right-hand translation. That means it is bullish, and this bullishness it could last even longer. I've seen a bullish primary cycle, they last over like 20 weeks, 24 weeks. Usually Nasdaq does it, but DAX is also able to do that kind of stuff. And we are going a bit more into details. This is for members usually only, but I show it to you for this weekend. This is a DAX at the top, and at the bottom you see the VDAX, the volatility for DAX. And these little numbers you see, it's a Swedish 9 count I use, and it likes to give us a signal for a possible turnaround. The 9 count is finished on the VDAX already. It could extend into a 10 and an 11, and the DAX at the top suggests a 9 on Monday. That means we should have a higher close than 4 candles before on Monday, so we compare that candle to the one on Wednesday. If this is higher, this 9 count completes, and it also could extend into midweek, so it's not on the day exactly. So this timing is matching the timing on the cycle chart as well. Last but not least, this is a weekly chart. It shows 2 major channels we have. I was showing that many times before. There's one which started in 2020, and that smaller one in blue. So we zoom in here a little, and it runs also very clean. This is a projection which hasn't been changed, by the way. And yes, I was a little bit off here. I was going for a cycle bottom in week 18 to hit that lower boundary of that channel, and we missed that out here on August 5th. You can't be that accurate all the time, but talking about cycles once again, this is the first major cycle which topped out in week 4. We found bottom in this should be week 5. My bad. And this is now week 11, where I assume another major cycle topping. We might squeeze all the way up here, by the way, into that 20K area. That might be 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, even Wednesday. This is a min target of that green sequence, by the way. We were hitting that already at 514 at 19,936, which matches that upper boundary. And then the question is, are we going to see a third major cycle? Because usually DAX is split up in 3 major cycles. Or are we going to see a sharp pullback for a half primary cycle? This is also an option, but then we need to find the bottom in week 14, which matches once again, 14th is the max extension, by the way, which matches a primary cycle out of the previous charts once again. Here is also that right-hand translation shown. That means we were rallying for 4 weeks, we pulled back, and then we broke that high, which means that cycle is bullish, and usually they top out not before week 12. So I assume we actually run much higher. This is a lot thing now, the Smart Money Flow Index. It's data from my partner Wall Street Career. We work in a corporation. If you want to have that useful information, you can sign up there as well. You find the link on my website as well. And I was telling my members already last week, there's a massive increase of smart money for the last 2 weeks, and but it started to flat out. You also see it on the volume and the options diagrams that big guys started to sell into that strength. That means that the big guys started to leave the ship already, or they are going to slowly. So there's something under the surface. Also the put-call ratio on DAX. It's also here. I don't want to show you everything here now. It started to drop as well. So securities are dropping. So no one really expects a quick dip. Yeah, that's about it. I hope you liked this video. It's a bit longer than usual. leave me a like or a nice comment, and I see you next week. Bye bye.